Hi, I'm Lily, and today I'm going to be answering question number 4 from SPL 6. The question states, what is a data flow diagram? What are the components and symbols used in the diagram? And give an example of a data flow diagram. So first off, a data flow diagram is a model of data or information flow in an organization. And this diagram was created by Larry Constantine, who was the original developer of structured design, and he created it in the 1970s. Data flow diagrams map out the flow of information for a process or system by using symbols such as rectangles, circles, or arrows. And these data flow charts can range from being very simple or very in-depth. They can be used to analyze an existing system or to model a new one. In the data flow diagram, there are usually 4 different symbols. One is the external entity, which is represented using a rectangle, and this includes things or people outside of the system that exchange information with the system. For example, this could be an airline reservation system because the external entity could be customers because they are outside of the system. And the next symbol in a data flow diagram is the data flow, and this is represented by an arrow. The arrow represents the data, and this data cannot be used to represent any physical objects such as a person or a pencil. The arrow may represent information about the person or about the pencil, but it will not represent the objects themselves. The third symbol in the data flow diagram is the process. This process is usually represented by a circle or an oval, or maybe even a rounded rectangle. And this process means that the information or data is changed so that the data flows into a process must be different than the data that flows out of the process. If the data flows into the process, it is not different from the data that flows out, or if it is not different from the data that flows out, then the process can be eliminated. For example, you can create a process to calculate your letter grade or a process to create an invoice. And the data that flows into the process for your GPA would be your letter grade and the units associated with that process. This data then flows out with a single number, which will be your GPA. The fourth component in a data flow diagram is the data store, represented by 2 parallel lines or an open-ended rectangle, and this is where the information is stored. So it does not process or change the data, it only stores information. Some simple rules for data flow diagrams is that each process should have at least 1 input and 1 output. Each data should have at least 1 data flow in and 1 data flow out. Data stored in a system must go through the process. All processes in the data flow diagram go to another process or data store. Data stored in the system must go through a process. So, data flow diagrams may be used to analyze a system or process in extensive detail to improve it both technically or non-technically.